What's that sound? That's the sound of Downy Unstoppable scent beads going into your washing machine and giving your clothes freshness that lasts all day long. There it is again. It's like music to your ears, or more like music to your nose. That freshness is irresistible. Let's get a Downy Unstoppables bottle shake. And now a sniff solo. Nice. With Downy Unstoppables, you just toss, wash, wow, for all-day freshness.
Ray-Ban Meta Smart Glasses help you make the most out of every moment. Hey Meta, text Naeem. Got us a table. This spot looks legit. Hey Meta, look and translate this for me.
It says traditional lime soup with chicken.
Hey Meta, take a photo. Ray-Ban Meta Smart Glasses. Learn, connect, and capture content hands-free, so you can stay in the moment. Iconic style meets cutting-edge technology with Ray-Ban Meta Smart Glasses.
Got a garage full of unused sports equipment? Bring those items in to our new Play It Again Sports in Maryville. Right now, we're open just to buy your items. We're stocking up on quality used baseball, football, golf, soccer, fitness, hockey, and more. If you're done with it, we want it. Stop by Play It Again Sports in Maryville today to get paid.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the QSL Puddles division. Mechanis here with Red Sniper as we get ready for picks and bans for game number 1 between the Crew and Eternal Vanguard. First ban going to be Shang-Ah. Very powerful ban indeed. Red Sniper, what are your thoughts on these two teams? You've been here a little bit longer than me. I can't help but agree with you on that one. Chemistry is such an important part of playing anything competitively, not just Smite, but even like you go to any sports, anything, and chemistry is so important. The way that you gel with your teammates is one of the core aspects of any kind of team game or team event. As Medusa going to be allowed through and is going to be the top pick in this draft for Eternal Vanguard, one of my favorite ADCs and mid laners right now. Very, very flexible amount of damage being thrown around by that Medusa. There's just so much this pick has to offer. So for reference, Medusa in 11.6, very, very strong. 11.7 had a bit of a small nerf, tweaking her cooldowns up. Just in case y'all weren't able to catch that from Red Sniper, as Lancelot going to be the first pick for the Crew here. A very, very potent pick in its own right, has been banned incredibly often throughout all the last 3 different patches that have come out as of late, as Raijin going to get picked up, probably going to the mid lane here, I would have to assume. Never mind, that's going to be a Cerberus lock after a Raijin hover, and I always love some good Cerberus play. Might be a little bit of bias. It is my second pick. It's one of the things I love to go to. Very fun god, in my opinion, but a very, very good one right now. Incredibly aggressive, shreds protections incredibly quickly. Vulcan going to be picked up by Izus, as we're just awaiting a pick out of Cuzco to keep moving further in this draft. But Medusa and Vulcan together, that's a frightening amount of damage. I mean, Medusa's ultimate, if you stare into it, does somewhere in the realm, I want to say, of like 2,500 damage, and it has a 2.5-second stun. And if you turn your back to it, like I did the mic there, you're looking at something around, like, I want to say 1,300 damage before protections and mitigation. And I mean, like a 40% slow. It's a ridiculously potent ability, whether you get the full effect of it or not. And Mulan going to be the pickup for Cuzco here as we get into that second round of bans and Kamazats. Something incredibly difficult for this team out of the Crew to deal with is going to be the first ban in that second round. One of the things I'm definitely going to be looking for here is whether or not this Cerberus can get active and get aggressive early, especially into a pick like Mulan that loves her self-sustain. Something that she does not want stripped away from her. I believe the bet here is that Cerberus is not going to be in lane with this Mulan. That Cerberus probably is going to be the support. I doubt Mulan is going to be the support for this team out of Eternal Vanguard. But Mulan, just such a good pick right now. So many tools at her disposal. I mean, the ultimate's so good. You got the knock up in that middle stage that gives you a long range of motion. There's a root on that first hit as well. Not to mention very potent damage out of that bow stance on the ultimate. Maman Brigitte going to be banned out here by the crew. And a ban that I really like to see. Has some really good CC inherent to her kit, a stun, and a knock-up in the ultimate. Not to mention, of course, the fact that her dash, you enter an enemy player. I know, sounds wrong, bear with me. But you enter an enemy player and become damage immune while slowly taking damage and giving more stacks of your passive to that player. So you just you're just pumping damage into them while being immune to anything they want to do and being carried with them wherever they go. Bacchus going to be the selection for the support of the crew as Ganesh, a very, very powerful pickup into the entirety of the crew's team, going to be selected for the pick alongside it. And currently, I really love Eternal Vanguard's draft. Ganesh, Thor, Vulcan, Mulan, Medusa, playing meta and counter meta incredibly well. Cerberus, Bacchus both fear this elephant quite strongly. Yu Huang going to be the last pick for the crew here. And one of the questions that provides is exactly how is this Yu Huang going to fare into this Mulan Thor dive. So this is going to be a Cerberus on Mulan matchup. They did indeed pick Cerberus for the solo lane. Mulan going to be in the solo lane as well. So it'll be very interesting to see how this Mulan can fare without any of her self-sustain, without any of her additional tools, to really try and get a look at what Mulan can maybe do just pumping raw damage. But I feel like Cerberus is going to win that lane. However, overall, I feel like Eternal Vanguard just aced in this draft. I really want to hand that to Eternal Vanguard. I mean, the Ganesh pick, absolutely critical. I can't really express that enough. Fuego Maego, Lyman Nelson, Block 17 Binary, these three are all going to have an incredibly difficult time handling the elephant. Just handling the fact that the elephant can remove their abilities. I mean, Cerberus 2, his most powerful ability in the kit is a channel ability. Very, very potent, very, very powerful. You get a massive slow out of it. You get protection shred out of it. There is so much to worry about damage-wise coming out of that Cerberus as long as he can get that 2 on you. Yes, his 1 is incredibly hard-hitting, but most of that damage that you're seeing from his first ability really does come from that prot shred, the additional almost, I want to say 18% damage that you're dealing because that damage isn't being mitigated. It makes it an incredibly potent ability, incredibly terrifying to deal with, but this Ganesh can just shut it right down. I want to say the same about Bacchus. Now, granted, you're not shutting down Bacchus taking a quick swig from his jug. No, what you're doing is shutting down the belch. You might get hit with 1 tick of it, which, yeah, that's going to nerf your healing a little bit. Oh, no. But what you're missing is the stun. You're forcing him to do away with an entire form of CC, and that is going to hurt. There are certain things that really just do not hurt as much as being silenced the way Ganesh can, where he can just kind of turn it on you in a moment's notice. And in my opinion, Shoto here on the Ganesh is going to be the power player in this game. And what a pick to be a power player on. That it's not the hardest pick in the world to actually to really do things with and to get going with. So I want to see Shoto be aggressive in lane, really force those belly flops, those belches, and try and get active early. If he can do that, if he can force Fuego Maego to play the way that he wants Fuego to play, they should have an easy time in lane and should be able to transition that into a pretty powerful lead for Renemesis. However, if Fuego Maego is able to play back a little bit and avoid getting his stun taken from him, should be a very good matchup for this Bacchus. Again, as long as Fuego can be patient.
I completely agree with you on that one. I will say, though, something we even saw last night in the Shallows division was the initiation factor when you look at the side of the crew, you have great initiation. The Bacchus is there. The Lancelot can dive. You've got a great stun and a pull to burn beads with lineman Nelson Cerberus. So there's a lot of things that work together in that comp to allow Yu Huang and the Charybdis to do the damage that they need to do. On the other side, okay, Kuz can dive in, Shoto's got some stuff, but, as we're looking as we get into game here, as we look at these gods, they really want to do this front-to-back thing, but I wonder how front-to-back they can be with Shoto on this Ganesh. He's going to have to get very tanky very fast.
And thankfully, it looks like he's doing exactly that. This glowing emerald, I suspect that's going to be a Cannonier's Curious. As Bacchus already leaping into that stun. Medusa put incredibly low. Chase down is happening, but the crew not going to be able to chase that one down. Ron Nemesis able to get out. Shoto able to provide just enough protection for this Medusa to get away. In mid lane, Eternal Vanguard faring a little bit better here. Code and Izus not immediately dropped to 1 health.
I mean, that is a massive thing over here in duo lane because Medusa is an early snowball god. They have to get ahead fast on that. And by Charybdis, by Deadly just pushing them out like that, by the massive amount of damage being done there, I mean, it completely changes the entire description of that lane. Now Charybdis can ramp effectively, can get into mid-game, can do whatever they need to do, although we're starting to see some low health bars over here on the right as Lineman tries to take down MZ, and the chase will be on, but looks like they're going to stay safe for now. Little contestation here in the mid lane over the... Oh, there's our first blood.
Cafe Cat Art gonna find Code and put him down as Izus looking to maybe steal back the Pyro Harpies. Will steal one back. Not being able to do much more than that. Lineman Nelson in a lot of trouble here in the solo lane. Took a lot of damage from minions. MZ, however, going to pick up the first kill for Eternal Vanguard and get them on the board. Now, looking back here in the dual lane, though, and one of the things I'm noticing is the silence really isn't coming out as much as I thought it would. I feel like Shoto should maybe have taken that second as his second ability going into play.
Yeah, again, we'll see how effective that's going to be. He did use it to cancel the belt right there, so there is a recognition by Shoto of what he needs to do. But again, that's not really going to stop with the belly flops. So the effectiveness of the Bacchus is still going to be felt over in the duo lane. As we see the rotation happening by the Lancelot over here, as MC is going to try and kill Lineman over here in the solo lane again. Lineman getting very low. MZ trying to go for the 1-for-1, cannot get it, and will drop instead. Great gank by Glock over here in the solo lane. It's a 2-for-1 advantage now in favor of the crew.
Crew definitely faring incredibly well early on in this game. The crew have really tried to push the issue as much as they could in dual lane. And, I mean, obviously just now getting on the board in solo, but Lineman Nelson was trying to chase down MZ. I can't really say that he wasn't trying to push the issue earlier. I do love the aggression, the confidence, and the firepower that the crew are playing with right now, really trying to play forward, play up, play strong, and just really playing solid smite from the head right now.
Yeah, and I mean, they're trying to do what their comp allows them to do, which is be aggressive. So Yu Huang and Yu Huang is there, and Lancelot is there to get those dives, to get those abilities, to really put Eternal Vanguard on the back foot. Eternal Vanguard, especially over in this duo lane, I'm guessing they were going to try and do something else, because the Medusa's an early game god. The Ganesh is going to be able to affect the game very early on, but when they got pushed out very early, now they're kind of, okay, how do I mitigate this? How do I work with this? Because again, we see low health bars over here in the solo lane. MZ got very close there onto Lineman.
Lineman Nelson doing everything he can to try and keep this one in his wheelhouse, but we see that Warded Buckler, I think is what it's called, out of this Mulan, really allowing Mulan to push the advantage and have some protections into this Cerberus, who I believe that should be a breastplate valid coming out of the Cerberus, right? As
MZ gets the dive.
MZ going to pick up a kill on the dive on the lineman Nelson. A very ballsy play out of this Mulan. And will pick up the kill for it. Will be rewarded for his effort. And Bacchus looking the Medusa away here in dual lane as we continue to see the crew not really minding their solo laners in trouble and really just trying to ramp up the pressure in mid and duo.
Again, both these teams are 2-1 right now. They're kind of fighting for that playoff berth, get into the postseason with a good seed kind of thing. And this is definitely going to help sort that out right now. But as it stands right now, I mean, the crew have a little bit of an advantage in gold. Kills are very even. Everything else across the board is very even. So we're going to see how this is going to affect things moving on here. But a lot of pressure coming out in favor of Eternal Vanguard on the solo side here. It's really been back and forth in the mid lane, but the crew seem to have the perpetual advantage now over on the duo side. We'll see if Glock can come over there and maybe push that advantage a little bit more, or if Kuzco's going to be able to get over there, relieve some of that pressure, and help his duo lane out. We haven't seen it yet. We've seen them kind of stay over on the solo side and affect the mid lane, but we'll see how this happens, as now a Bull Demon call going to be in the works here for the Eternal Vanguard.
Eternal Vanguard's Kuzco looking at the Bull Demon King as a below half, but instead the crew are going to be here to force Kuzco off, especially taking way too much damage from that objective. Izu's gonna try and get in there with the ultimate, not able to secure it. Everybody gets out. Anvil of Dawn going to be dropped. Kuzco very, very low. Glock 17 Binary going to find it with the cavalry charge. Deadly going to find a solo kill, and the Nemesis on the other side of the map in the meantime. And the crew, they take a 2-kill advantage, 2-kill swing right now. Make it 3! Fuego Maego is going to find MZ under the protection of their Tier 1 tower. Glock 17 Binary are going to make their way out, but Izus is there. It is currently a 4v2 with the aid of the tower for Eternal Vanguard, as Fuego Maego just trying to make their way out. Izus is going to return to the mid lane, and Shoto may not let Fuego back in the depths of their jungle, but that fight, that's over.
Yeah, that was a great fight for the crew, picking up 3 there. They did get the Bull Demon King, which is an excellent pickup for them as well. But the way that fight turned was just perfectly done. Fuego now in a little bit of trouble here as MZ utilizing the ultimate here. Gonna get the pull in, use the beads, and oh boy, that was close.
Not quite gonna find the damage there. Fuego finds enough mana to get out of dodge. MZ with a heck of a lead over lineman Nelson, who's really hurting for mana right now. I feel like his buff may have been taken a couple of times here. But MZ not able to find the kill just yet. Lineman Nelson going to go ahead and back. I do believe teleport, yes, available for the Cerberus. It will be a contagion early on for the Cerberus, and that should provide him... Oh, I forgot they changed the MP5 to HP5 on that item. So will not provide Cerberus mana sustain and mana. Instead, going to provide the Cerberus 200 health and 25 HP5. Should still help in lane not get so quickly deleted by this Mulan. That is an additional 5 health per second. As that's going to be a Lancelot diving in to this Medusa and Road Nemesis. There's just nowhere to go. They are too fast and too close. And that's going to be a Medusa seeing the grayscale yet again. Kuzco looking for the Bull Demon King. Tried to say Fire Giant there for a moment, but no, that is instead going to be Eternal Vanguard able to see the boards across the map as Izus and Shoto take a look at trying to get Fuego Maego. Kuzco looking to join in, lands from the Anvil of Dawn toward the lane, killing some minions off instead. Going to be a stun missed by Fuego off the stun from Kuzco. Silence is there. Fuego able to find some damage, but Izu's going to find the kill on the support. However, Glock comes in and makes sure Fuego doesn't get out. Shoto, the only one left alive in that fight, The Dharmic Pillars will go down, and the Dharmic Pillars will not matter. 3-1. Fuego going to die to make sure that Shoto, Izus, and Kuzcode follow it.
What a great turn there by the crew. Again, that entire thing, Fuego gets caught out. You look at it and you're going to go, yep, you're going, you're going to go down. Without a doubt, you're going down. And the whole thing turns. Even though Fuego gets taken out by the ultimate of the Vulcan, doesn't matter. They turn, they get all three in the mid lane, as now MC is going to go down here over in the solo lane. So there's another one, the crew taking their advantages and pressing them even further forward. You see them little by little working on these advantages, working to try and get some sort of push or some sort of movement forward. And by doing that, they're able to secure objectives, get in better positioning for ganks. And it's just a wonderful thing to see that the crew has actually worked together to create this synergistic effect throughout the map here. This is an excellent team. There are even some Shallows teams that haven't figured this stuff out yet.
There's a lot of good going on for the crew right now. And again, I definitely agree with you. It looks like the crew have really just put everything together. Kuzco going to try and get a bit of a cancel going on. Anvil and Dawn going to be expended here. Where does Kuzco want to go? He's continuing to look at this Lancelot, who says, you want to fight me? Let's go! The cavalry charge going to be used here, and a good wall from Kuzco should make sure he's out. Izus with a very long range blast there is able to find Glock, but able to pick up the kill anyway is Glock, but Izus going to kill off the Dharmic Pillars through the Ganesh passive. Fuego Maego trying to keep Shoto out of the fight as MZ is fighting Lineman Nelson. Fuego going to leap back onto MZ. The root is good. Out of Cafe Cat. The push is good as well. The ultimate expended. But MZ going to be able to bow away. As now MZ is just going to look at this blue buff. Try and pull it under tower. Shoto's got to run from the force of Fuego and Lineman Nelson and Cafe Cat. But this fight should be over. Kuzcode rotating out to it from base here at the moment. Rotating is just going to find some XP. Is going to find Fuego. Fuego trying to get away. Going to be a belch out from this Bacchus and should be a leap over the wall. That fight overall has ended.
Stygian Beacon is available here for capture. Again, Kuzcode and Shoto going over here. This is going to turn into a 3v2 very quickly, make it a 4v2 as Deadly makes his, Deadlie makes his way over here. They will take out one of the Bastions in the meantime. MZ dropping the ultimate there. The wall dropped by Kuzcode. He will go up into the Anvil of Dawn. Let's see if he can land on somebody, anybody. There's 4 grouped up there. He'll get 2 instead. Ultimate by the Vulcan. And the Cerberus on top of it, but MZ there just getting out of it. Kuzco getting very, very low. He will be dropped by Glock, and boy, this fight just keeps turning on its head one more time. When you think it's done, it's just not yet.
I would try and call that an extension of the fight that we just had right, but that fight had ended 10 seconds prior to that. So a little bit going on there. The crew do pick up the Stygian Beacon. They also pick up 2 kills from Eternal Vanguard in the form of Kuzcode and MZ. As now, you look at that gold difference, you look at that XP difference, and what was a level advantage for the Mulan has turned into nothing. That the Cerberus has caught up, probably about half a level ahead, I want to say. And outside of that, you have a 2-level lead in jungle, you have a 2-level lead in mid, as Izu's going to be forced out by the Lancelot, who's going to pick up the kill instead. Good tower dive by Glock, and make sure that this Vulcan has no quarter.
Lancelot just being absolutely oppressive right now. Glock knows how to use the Horseman to great advantage, and he is doing so in absolutely every category he possibly can. Well done by Glock, but again, let's see where the advantage is going to take them. Where are they going to push? Are they going to go for an objective? We're 14 minutes in. Pyromancer's on the board. Maybe I don't know about a 14-minute fire giant. I have seen one early, but Pyro might not be a bad call here. Gold Fury, maybe. They do have oracles. But again, They're shading over towards that solo side. Are you kidding me? Is that the Bull Demon? Yep, Bull Demon goes down one more time.
That is indeed going to be the Bull Demon King going down for the crew. So they now know where all of Eternal Vanguard's wards are. And they should know that they have a pretty free Pyromancer right now if they decide they want to do it. Cusco does want a piece of Deadlie, but Deadlie going to make their way into the Whirlpool form under the wall and make their way out of that engagement. Jesus just trying to hold it down in mid for the moment. Bacchus going to belly flop over, and Eternal Vanguard, you can see that the crew, they want that Fury to play off of it for now. Deadlie with a big ultimate on the Nemesis, who's got to run away. Glock will be able to find that kill. The double dash will do more than enough damage to put the Medusa down. Shoko in the area, not in a safe spot, but Ampla gone. Double ultimate out of Vanguard, triple ultimate. Cusco to the double, part of it given. Lyman Nelson in the area, 4v1 is this Cerberus. And now, make it 4v2, Izus gonna pick up Lyman Nelson. Lyman Nelson will fall there. Nemesis, the only dead member of Eternal Vanguard in that fight. Fuego made his way in, but he made his way in too late. The silence is going to be good. And the death will find its way through. Cusco going to put Fuego into the grave. And Eternal Vanguard are flipping this game right onto its head.
I mean, to be honest, you can sort of see little things that happen. You know, okay, should you have gone in? Was that a good fight? Beyond those questions, take a look at the graphs here. There is a massive spike that happens. That fight just turned the entire thing on its head. 4 kills plus a Gold Fury. That was an excellent fight for Eternal Vanguard. They will take it out of hand, no problems. But man, the crew just, they couldn't afford that one, and they just kept coming when they should have just stopped.
Yeah, but let's be fair here. I don't think players at this level are always worried about playing perfectly, and at times you get moments like that where very apparently the crew tunnel visioned onto that fight and said, we can get kills here, we're ahead, let's go murder these guys. And instead, well, Eternal Vanguard said, you want to come at us one by one? We'll kill you one by one. And that's exactly what happened to the crew. They just got continually picked off one by one by one by one.
Yeah, and you were saying before, yeah, it's a 4v2 fight, and then it became a 4v1, and then it was a 4v2 again, and then it became a 4v1 again. That just, you can't afford to do that if you're trying to maintain a lead here. And the crew, as much of a lead as they had, now are in trouble one more time as Deadlie going to go down. Again, that health bar trying to stay in the back, but you can't do that when you have a Vulcan that can just evaporate half of your health bar.
Multiple ultimates expended out of the crew. Izu's going to have to run away. Lyman Nelson trying to chase, but unable to do so. Great CC out of his team. As Eternal Vanguard, they're on the cusp of a bad fight, good fight, not entirely sure. Fuego left alone. Can he get over the wall? Yes, he does. Fuego going to make his way to safety. Eternal Vanguard should have defeated him here, but all members of this fight are low. Lineman going to go ahead and stand on it, at least for a moment, and make it take a little bit longer. But Vanguard, they're going to get the beacon here. And with that, they should have a good fight here. Oh, Cusco able to turn it around on the Glock 17 binary, unable to pick up the kill. As now Lyman Nelson just trying to get back and maybe recover that kill. But Nemesis is going to find Cafe Cat Art. That first ability ticking alongside Bluestone. Gonna be enough damage to pull Yu Huang out of his safety and down to earth. Fuego, Lineman, both in the area. Lineman Nelson looking for something, for anything he can do to help his team continue to recover this lead that they once had. Eternal Vanguard now having the lead in gold, ever so slight, but absolutely there, have roared back into this game from a 4K deficit.
Yeah, we kind of seen that. We've seen, and this is sort of where the difficult part comes when you're at this level, because you have so many people that get mentally distraught when you see a swing like this, and so in in a normal, casual match or even in a ranked match, you'll see people just go, nope, I'm done, and they FF at this point. So you play for 20 minutes, and you're done. You don't get to finish this out. We've seen Eternal Vanguard now, even though they were down 4K gold, it looked like everything was against them. Turn everything around now. And now we're going back and forth, and Eternal Vanguard seems to be getting the better of the crew as they pick up another kill onto Fuego. And this is just going to be a crazy game until finally the Titan falls.
Fuego, things might be a little bit too Fuego for this Ego to handle. No? Not okay?
Not quite a dad joke, but you're getting close there, so you just watch your territory.
Deadline gonna make his way under tower as Eternal Vanguard just push out the ADC here for a moment. That way they can get started on this Gold Fury. I really do like the call there. Trying to just push Deadline back in the tower, say, hey, you don't need to be over here right now. I'm just gonna escort you out. And now, Eternal Vanguard, they're going to pick up the Primal Fury here. They're going to have bonus damage on objectives. Lyman Nelson, I believe that was the Ghastly Breath that just got silenced out. So that now down for another 10 seconds. As we see a fight rotation over to mid, I do believe. Or at least
we're seeing a rotation, but yeah, it's going to be the next objective. Pyro is up here. And again, we're going to see back and forth here. Again, the play... There's only 3 here, but linemen getting caught out once again, and this seems to be a common theme, is as... Here we go again, as Kuzcode's going up.
Kuzcode in the Anvil of Dawn, Fuego caught out in the middle of 4, but Kuzcode in the middle of a mess of his own design, in the middle of 2, Rod Nemesis going to pick up Fuego, as now Glock 17 Binary got to make his way out. He might be in trouble, able to get away. Not going to be far enough. The Vulcan Cafe Cat Art's got to get into the air. Izus will find Nelson. And Izus not going to be able to find another kill. Cafe Cat Art going to be able to make their way just barely out. As now, Eternal Vanguard, they're going to look at the Fire Giant instead.
Yeah, and again, that's what Eternal Vanguard needs to do. Get that fight, get those picks, take down lineman, because you know he's going to be disruptive. He's the one that's been jumping in. You haven't really seen it much by Fuego, but it's just going to be an annoyance there. So you get the pick, go over to the fire, take the objective. You had a lot of low health bars on the side of the crew as well. And we're starting to see it now. Eternal Vanguard, the slow snowball after that big fight is starting to come back and make its presence known.
I cannot help but agree with you. A team like what Eternal Vanguard have drafted, they want to play from ahead and they want to win before you catch up. The crew, they got ahead. They had the advantage. They had the lead. They had Vanguard in the palm of their hand. But then a 4v2, v1, v2, v1, v2 happens over in left. And suddenly the tables have just completely turned. The script is flipped. And Eternal Vanguard now in complete control of this game with 1 kill less than the crew have, and a lot of that on the back of the towers and the objectives that have fallen to the Eternal Vanguard in the meantime.
Yeah, and again, we're seeing it here. The pings are coming out to indicate where they were going. They wanted that Stygian beacon. They wanted to take out the tower. They take out the tower to get the gold. Remember, if the Stygian beacon takes down the tower, the team does not get the gold, so they make sure they take down the tower, get the team gold for the tower down, get the Stygian, get the damage onto the tier 2s.
You know, that was a detail about the beacon that I'd completely forgotten about. I forgot that you don't get the gold if the beacon takes it.
Yeah, you see it all the time in casuals where people are just like, oh, we want to take down the tower, we want to take down the tower. Well, that's fine, but those towers give you a fair amount of gold for your entire team, and if you're just going to let that go, that could be a real problem. Speaking of a real problem, here we go over in the duo lane. Now we got a big team fight on our hands as Cafe is going to go down.
Cafe found out by the ultimate of Zeus as Road Nemesis trying to make sure they can stay alive here. Deadline going to find Ems diving their own backline as now Fuego, incredibly low, has to leap away. Block 7 Binary is also out of this fight, so it's just Nelson and Deadline However, their health bars are pretty good here. Deadlight gonna find Isus. Deadlight gonna find Shoto. Deadlight might be able to find the Medusa, but never mind. Lineman Nelson will pick up that kill. Bacchus taking a long look at this Thor, as Thor just trying to get away. The double stun out from these two is Fuego. May have been off warning 2. Good dodge, but Cusco will find the kill. And now Eternal Vanguard are going to have to watch as the crew gather over this Oni Fury and should be able to get the objective here.
It's supposed to be Lego my ego. Instead, that was a full-on Fuego my ego as he gets burned to a crisp by the Thor. Tried to follow him through, tried to get the damage, thought, oh, maybe he's just low enough, maybe he's, going to be able to, but that Thor, look at the health on him. Remember, they still had Fire Giant buff on them. They dropped 4 of them, and they lost the Fire Giant buff, but still, excellent fight by the crew. That does help them claw back a little bit. It cuts that gold and that XP difference in half now. But again, we're getting towards the end of the game. That XP difference isn't going to be as much of a difference as it all tells out, as we're starting to see the 20s come across the board. The big difference right now is in the support role. 17 to 15 is our levels, but Pyromancer are going to be looked at by both teams. Ultimate's going to use it. Eternal Vanguard will eventually pick it up, despite the attempt by Fuego on the steal.
Fuego in the middle of 5 right now, just trying to keep somewhat safe. As Fuego going to be rooted, silenced, and battered on his way out the door. Glock 17 Binary going to take a stun, but going to get that Heroism shield. Heroism to pick up from this Bacchus. Sentinel's Embrace to pick up from this Ganesh. Honestly, if I would have preferred the Ganesh gotten Benevolence early so they could go into Compassion now. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the safe play is going to be just getting Sentinels. Just get the Sentinels. It's going to help you out. You're going to gain the gold that you need later on in the game. But yeah, I completely understand what you mean about getting the Compassion. But as we're starting to see the setup now, here we go as the Fire Giant going to be the next big objective on the map here. The crew kind of setting things up. They do have some wards out there, although not as deep as maybe you would want. Cusco biting off a little bit more than he can chew. The beads will come out. That will also mean the ultimate as well. And here we go. Will he drop? Will he land? Beads coming out of Deadlie. And he's going to blink away, hammer away, as that's a lot of damage there.
Fuego Maego trying to chase down Cusco at least as much as he can. Glock 17 Binary going to have to cavalry charge away from that fight as he's on this other side of it currently. Crew able to push Vanguard out, but outside of Cusco, Eternal Vanguard are really healthy. And the crew have 2 members that are at or around half HP. MZ in a little bit of trouble here, surrounded by 3, but the team that she is with able to help them out. Izu's going to find Glock 17 Binary, and Ronemesis going to find Deadlight, as now the Eternal Vanguard, they're pushing the crew out. Fuego Maego going to fall as well. Should be Lyman Nelson here shortly in the middle of 3. Cafe Cat are trying to stay around and help their solo laner, but not going to be able to be pushed out entirely by Cusco. Lyman Nelson will fall, and now that is an Anvil of Dawn down onto Cafe Cat Art. Cusco completes the deicide, and that is going to be a push down mid.
Yeah, at this point they should. I don't know if they're going to be able to have enough time to kill the Titan, but it's definitely going to be close here, as they've got to get the middle bird here. Fuego will be up in 7, Deadlie in 6, Glock right behind them. So yeah, they're going to get the middle bird and get out of dodge. They still have a Stygian Beacon, remember, that they can pick up. So damage onto birds, but they also have the Fire Giant. Now, do you wait the extra minute? They've already got 3 members up. If they run straight there may be a chance of a steal. Do you want to just take another fight? Looks like they don't want to. EV will go right here to the Fire Giant and start it right up. It will not be an EFG, but it will be enough to make an impact in this game.
Anvil Dawn up and down. Fire Giant going to be taken.
No steal!
Crew were able to steal it away. Are they able to take the fight after? Deadline able to pick up the kill. Kuzco returns on the Glock 17. Bro Nemesis has to run, unable to get any further. Lineman Nelson's Bridwin will do the job, but MC finds Deadline in the back. And now Cafe Catart running to the fight. Fuego trying to stay alive. Good stun out of the three-headed dog as Fuego is going to fall to Jesus. A beautiful steal by the crew. Lineman Nelson going to go ahead and back. This fight is over. But what a turnaround by this team!
I mean, again, I kind of said it before earlier. I know this game was going to be back and forth. I know these teams are very, very good going back and forth like this. I didn't think it would be this back and forth. I didn't think it would be like this, where it's like, oh, big fight happens, game turns around, that's the trajectory. They don't care. The crew says, fine, we lost one fight, we'll win another one. And they come back and they do it again. Again, at this level, typically what we see is the mentals get shot or something happens and they go, okay, let's go into game 2, let's reset the things, we'll go like that. They say, no, screw game 2, we want game 1, and they're just going to keep going.
The crew, the Eternal Vanguard, fighting eternally over game number 1. Which, I mean, you would feel an eternal struggle would favor a team like the Eternal Vanguard. But I don't know. This game keeps going back and forth.
Yeah, and again, Fury's already down, so we'll see what kind of push needs to happen here. Pings are happening onto the tier 2 on the left-hand side by the Eternal Vanguard, so we'll see if they're going to push their advantage to try and take that down. Lineman Nelson still does have the Fire Giant buff on him, but I mean, it would be a lot more perplexing if it was on the Charybdis, but yeah, this is just, I mean, it's Puddles, man. What you gonna do?
It is indeed Puddles, and an interesting item selection I want to bring up is this Vulcan has the Gem of Focus, I do believe. So a very interesting pickup for this Vulcan in particular. Is a good damage increase and a good movement speed buff, but you have to keep using abilities. I do feel like, however, his 2 is going to be able to get that continued enough times throughout a fight, that I'm not so worried about that. What I'm really interested in here is this Gem of Isolation out of the Vulcan. It looks like it's been putting in some good work, as Glock 17 Binary is going to help find some good damage on the Code. However, Glock 17 Binary absolutely deleted. Cuzco going to be credited for the kill for that one. Lyman Nelson turning around, trying to get back into this fight for his team, as the Amphiladon going to get used, and it's going to be to try to get onto Cafe Cat Art. Cuzco in the back, Cuzco in trouble, Cuzco at 1. Fuego going to find the shutdown, but Izus going to find Lyman Nelson, and now it is a 4-on-3. Eternal Vanguard trying to push the crew back. If they can get all the members of the crew here, this should be a win from their deadline. Not going to be able to get out. MC finds Fuego. Massive damage on the Cafe Cat Art. They have to get out. They have to get out immediately. But MC doesn't want to let that happen. Cafe is going to be able to get back into the fountain. And now, can Eternal Vanguard, can they get this done with Cafe in the area? Cafe trying to defend, but it won't matter. The Eternal Vanguard take game 1 all the way through. What a game.
Right.
What a game. Both teams back and forth all throughout.
Wow. That's really what I'm saying on this one, is just wow.
There are a few inaccuracies you could point out in these builds. And, I mean, obviously, a couple of plays that we pointed out, but what a game between these two teams here in the Puddles division. Hasten Fatalis on Charybdis, I don't hate it. Last item is really interesting to me, but Hey, it did the job. It you kept on the move, and I don't know really how else to put this. This game, I don't feel like it was builds that really sealed the win here for Izus and the Eternal Vanguard. What really did it, what really got them the W here, was just being a little bit more patient than the crew. Just a little bit more patience, and I think the crew might be able to sneak this win back into their pocket. But I don't know how else to put it. Just a back and forth game.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. Again, the crew had it, lost it, tried to get it back again, lost it again. Uh, Honestly, I think the tail of the tape here has to be Izus' ultimates, because we even saw it right there at the end with Cafe Cat. You want to stay there. You're supposed to be distancing yourself appropriately, and you are. And then all of a sudden, you see the big circle on the ground, you see the missiles coming overhead, and you're going, what do I do now? Because you just don't have the ability to get out of dodge fast enough. And with 42k player damage, that's kind of what happened. That was not a ton of player damage, generally speaking. It was just a ton of ultimates hitting over and over and over again. Izus, if he was good for nothing else, hit his ultimate probably 80% of the time, maybe 90% of the time in game, and that was effective enough for them to turn many of those fights.
Usually when we talk about creating space, it's, Lyman Nelson, Fuego Maego, or Shoto and MZ. It's, hey, can these tanks create space for their backliners? Izus created space for his tanks with
Yeah.
his really well placed high damage ultimates. And I don't think we saw a true one shot out of Izus, but we didn't need to. You saw it right there at the end. Cafe Cat got hit at 95% health and was left with less than 100 HP to his name as he's just trying to run away from MZ and make sure that he can defend the Titan.
Yep. And again, we're looking at it right now, going, "Holy cow! How does this happen?" It was such a back and forth game. It was such a back and forth thing where you're trying to figure out, okay, what happens next. And I mean, I'm honestly hoping that this doesn't really hurt the crew for game number two, where maybe their mentals go a little bit, because they fought tooth and nail for absolutely everything. So, I mean, complete, kudos even to them for doing what they had to do, because that was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenally done. Um, so yeah, I give credit where credit is due. The crew had an opportunity to win this game. It just wasn't meant to be right now. The Eternal Vanguard played their comp to its full potential, and that's what they needed to do in order to win. And so they got the W on the game one. But that doesn't mean it's the end of the set. Again, game number one goes over to Eternal Vanguard. We still have a best of three, so we'll see what happens in game two coming up next.
Feel the pulse of the city. Feel the beat of the drum. Feel the bass blow your hair. In Las Vegas, live music delivers much more than sound. It's where music comes
Hello, everybody,
alive.
and welcome back for game number 2 between the Eternal Vanguard and the Crew. Game number 1, an intense back-and-forth affair between these two teams as we saw some incredible plays and interesting builds from both of these two squads. Mechanis is back here with Red Sniper, who's also in production, as we get ready for game number 2 and see a Tiamat ban.
Yep, everything's kind of normal right now. We see Tiamat being banned, Chonga also taken off the table. And again, you know, we've seen the Chonga be, you know, annoying, weird, whatever you want to call it. Kuzenbo also, recent buff there, so good to get him off the table. Speaking of recent buffs, as we saw the Lancelot earlier, I was saying, okay, 11-5 versus 11-6 kind of things, but it wasn't really 11-6 because the 11-6, the buffs weren't really played to their effectiveness. But as we see, okay, I give this, you know, normally you try and bad problems. Yeah, I'll say that the Vulcan was a problem.
The Vulcan was a pretty big problem. Izus hitting ult after ult after ult on this group, and I do not blame them in the least. If Izus is going to be that comfortable on this Vulcan, get rid of it. Make him play something else.
So, quick question. With how things kind of lined up, do you still think the Medusa is a first pick, or would you wait till later on for that one?
So, Medusa, I would still say is a first pick. Medusa is still the best ADC that you can pick at the moment, as Lancelot going to be taken away from the Crew in this second game. So, highlighted as a problem was the Crew's jungler, interestingly enough. As we're still waiting for a ban here out of the Crew, I do like the bans overall, I gotta say. The Tiamat, the Kuzenbo, the Lancelot, from Ku's Code and the Vanguard, the now Cthulhu, the Vulcan, and the Shanga away by Lineman Nelson and the Crew, as Freya is able to sneak her way through. Not something I was expecting at all. And Freya might be the pick that would make me eat my words about Medusa.
Yeah. Ring build's going real popular right now with her. Just absolute disgusting with Hasten Fatalis coming out one more time now. Again, the reverts are happening, and we're starting to see the plethora of build paths. We're starting to see a lot of different manipulations of game states and the like. Freya, though, coming back into the meta with the Ring of Hecate now coming back in, or Hecate, depending on what you want to call it. And again, we're going to see a Chalk in this game. Chalk, with his new life granted to him with basically the old Glad Shield back into the meta. And, you know, a few other interesting little tweaks and things in the warrior department over there. So, again, two gods that were... Or, sorry, Chalk was banned last game, but not in this one. And now we're going to see a Soul.
So Fuego Maego and Ku's Code picking their ADCs up, some magical carries in this game. As Erlong Shen, I didn't even realize this, but Erlong Shen made it all the way through the first phase of bans and both first phases of picks to make its way through to see a Freya Ishel Erlong Shen for the Eternal Vanguard, and this is not looking good for the Crew already. Oh,
that's
boy.
Criminal. I'm sorry, that's criminal. With what that Erlong Shen brings, you need CC, you need pressure, you need distance CC, you need disruptability. That's exactly what Erlong Shen is going to bring to you. And Ganesha, no offense, your silence ain't going to be worth a hill of beans when you're getting taunted and then knocked up. So, it just... I understand the pick. I understand what you're trying to do with it, and you know, the Eternal Vanguard didn't look bad on it, but man, just I that 1-2-3 from Eternal Vanguard is just disgusting right now.
So one thing I do want to point out is Ganesh actually does have a lot that he can do into their comp outside of maybe Erlang Shen. So Ganesh can cancel the knockup of Erlang Shen if, of course, Erlang Shen doesn't want him first. But let's take the elephant in the room and set him aside for the moment. Ganesh able to do a lot into the Erlang Shen, assuming the ult doesn't come through immediately every single time. On top of that, you put Ishel and Freya in a box, Freya's got one answer to that box, and it's to press 4. And I would say the same about Ishel, but Ishel is still going to take the tremendous amount of damage that comes with escaping that box if she tries to do so. So I'm very interested to see how that goes, as Geb being hovered by Shoto here. And after the showing on the Ganesh, I'm not incredibly hopeful about a Geb, but I would love the Horus pickup. It seemed like Shoto wanted to go further in much more often, and a pickup like Horus would allow him to do exactly that. That was a lot of hovering going on.
A lot of hovering. They're making me do my job, at least in production here. But on top of it, he wanted to be aggressive, but his aggression didn't pay off as much as as much as it probably should have in game number 1. He got himself caught out a little bit too often. So maybe they want to put him on something safer just to make sure that he's going to be okay. We'll see what happens. But again, now we're going to see the Sobek going to get picked up. That's probably going to be in the duo lane. And there it is. There is the Horus that we were talking about before. We'll see who gets to play what. Wait, what?
If I'm gonna make a prediction here,
yeah,
this is definitely Erlang jungle. That's the obvious part. But I do think this will be Horus support, and we're going to see Sobek solo for the first time in a while. And Neith, I understand you're being selected. Sit down. We're talking about the tanks.
I think that's just the meta, though. Right now, it is a tank meta. And as weird as it is, Neith was being played in the mid lane, and I think more often than not, this is probably I don't know. Deadlie isn't giving it up yet. I would expect Deadlie to actually give this up, and this to be a mid lane Neith for Cafe. And it looks like that's what it's going to be. Yep, there it is. Okay.
That is Cafe on Neith and Deadlie on Soul. And yet again, we have Shoto on Horus. We do have MZ on the Sobek. So we're going to have a reversed damage matchup in that solo lane. Lineman now on a physical, where MZ is on a magical. And I'll be honest with you, Horus Freya duo lane hits really, really, really hard right now.
I mean, I'm kind of surprised that it's not a Horus solo. I mean, just looking at things straight up, I can't believe it's not a Horus solo. Shoto wants to be an initiator. Great, awesome, wonderful. Can MZ play like a support later on in the game? That's going to be a big question. Lineman had issues with it in game 1, and it told at the end of the game. Because he was getting caught out, he wasn't quite doing the damage he needed to do, and he was playing the Guardian. Is he going to be able to... Is MZ going to be able to do that later on in Game 2 to allow them? I mean, does she hit the pick to throw it back into a Freya, to throw it into an Erlang, to throw it into an Ixchel? Does Shoto get the dashes in? Are the heals going to be effective? That's going to be another question coming up here. So there's a lot here where, is this comp going to be executed correctly? I don't want to say correctly. Is it going to be executed effectively? I think that's the real question here. They've got good pieces. Does it work? And we'll see.
I would actually bring a counterpoint to saying that the Sobek needs to play more like a support later in the game. and point out that Sobek's Charge Prey is one of the best initiation tools in all of Smite. And Horus is no slouch when it comes to being able to peel for his team. It's why he's one of the best support warriors, if not the best support warrior in Smite history. And one thing I'm very, very interested to see is who is their initiator going to be. They have two choices and two different ways to go about this game. As on the other side, you kind of have a very direct idea of what's going on. Shock is going to initiate. Susano's going to play off that. Neith and Soul are going to put damage down into the space created by Shock and Ganesh, and that's how they want to play that game. On the reverse, you know Horus, you know Sobek, both want to engage, and both are good at peeling. So who's going to be engaging? Who's going to make the space? And how is Kuzco going to build the Erlong Shen? We won't know until we see them on the battleground for game number 2. But it definitely leaves a question.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, I like both of these comps. I really do. I can see how they're going to work. Front to back, initiation. Glock is going to be absolutely annoying on that Susano, especially early on in the game. So, how is that going to work as the game progresses? I mean, we saw earlier that Kuzco was having problems as a Thor into a Lancelot. Lancelot just had so much bullying pressure early on. How's that interaction going to be between the Susano and the Erlang this time? I mean, Erlang can be a bully in and of himself, and honestly, I think has a little bit more CC tools that Glock might have problems with. So we'll see what happens as we get close to game 2 here. Again, getting things as everybody starts getting as everybody starts connecting into the game, we're going to see how these teams match up into each other.
One of the things I definitely want to see is I want to see Kuzco on this very early, very active pick, like the Erlong Shen. I want to see him get active early. I want to see him get on top of Glock 17 binary. I want to see him force these plays from the Susano and really dictate the pace of this game. Erlong Shen has all the tools with which to do that. He's going to have the early protections. He's going to have really good early damage between him and his doggo. And not to mention, until you hit level 5 as Susano, it is a really uphill battle into some of these really high pressure junglers. So even if you know what you're doing, even if Glock 17 can make everything work the way he wants it to, it can just be tough enough of a fight that Kuzco may still come out on top. It really is just that rough into something as pressuring, as destructive as the Erlong Shen.
Well, there we go. Now you guys can hear me. Again, we're getting into game number 2 now between the Eternal Vanguard and the crew. I'm Red Sniper. With me is Mechanis here. And it's been a back and forth. Game 1 was nuts. Just straight up nuts. But Eternal Vanguard with the 1-0 lead in this best of 3 series. Here we go into game number 2. I'm looking forward to this one, to be honest.
Game 1 was nuts. There wasn't a rat in that game. Either way.
Now you've hit the dad joke. Congratulations.
Everybody getting their buffs together. Everybody getting things going. And let's see who gets some pressure together. Shoto, I should really think would be looking to gather some pressure in this dual lane. Horus, one of the best pressure picks in Smite history in the dual lane. Yes, I know Fenrir support was a thing for a while and was also very good at generating pressure, but there's a reason Fenrir fell off and Horus didn't, and it's the fact of the matter being, Fenrir pressure was a lot more through damage than his stun. Fenrir has to build the stun up, using his passive, of course. Horus, he just has a stun innately. As the pluck is going to make its way through, Lineman Nelson plucked into the tower, able to heal up quite a bit off of that third ability. But MZ showing exactly why you have to be incredibly careful into a Sobek as he nearly gets Lineman Nelson killed by the tower.
Here we go. Is Ago paying attention? It doesn't look like it, as Kuzco's going to make it over. The whoop will land. Let's see. Here's the damage. Do they have enough? The Pachyderm will pack his bags and run away. As nope, no kill. As Kuzco does try and make his pressure felt here. Izus, though, has to back way off as he almost falls in the mid lane. And MC getting very low over on this solo side as well.
One thing to note here is Lineman Nelson not out of healing potions just yet, but the Sobek completely out of health pots. Nothing left in that regard. Good knockup by Shoto, forcing Fuego and Deadlie completely off the wave. They do miss a minion here, and those add up pretty quickly in the early game.
Pings happening in the jungle on the left-hand side. I think they think the Erlang might be over there, but I'm not 100% certain, as MC is going to pick up the cooldown buff over here on the right-hand side. Lineman definitely enjoying the totem advantage at the time.
Totem advantage, and able to pick it up for his team. Fuego taking a lot of damage from Road Nemesis, who shows off exactly what Freya is really good for in the current state of the game, and that is pumping numbers as Kuzco makes his way over, and we see the first kill of the game. Kuzco gonna pick off a low health Lineman Nelson and send him back to base early. And Lineman Nelson, one of the things that is going to be incredibly rough for him is starting this Fortress Shield, a physical defense item, into a pick like Sobek, who still has respectable damage, and the root going to be out from Kuzco. The stun is there too, and Glock 17 will pick up Kuzco, as now we get the return kill. Beautiful ult by the knee.
And again, it was perfect setup there. It wasn't massively one way or another. It was just enough, as now Izus is going to go down in the mid lane as well. So Glock 17 Binary and Cafe Cat pressuring the mid lane, getting the 2 kills, maneuvering over now to Bull Demon King, as we got back and forth going on right now, as Fuego's got to get out of there as well. Man, just again, we're seeing this action, one side, the other side, utilizing the map here to try and gain advantage wherever they can. Lineman gonna try and get some damage into the lane there, but man, just the health is not going to be there right now.
I mean, for sure, if you look at the Fortress Shield, I do believe that is only 20 physical procs, which of course don't matter into this Sobek. You have 20 physical protection, 200 health, and I don't know if the shock is going to immediately go into Shifter Shield. I feel like it's the best option considering you're into the Sobek, you need the magical defense, as Sobek just going to block Lineman Nelson here. That should be, looked like it did no damage. Am I just blind?
I mean, you're not exactly blind on that one. That is the thing about Sobek. It's the ult doesn't do a ton of damage. It just doesn't. As a Guardian, it's kind of what it's not there for. Again, as we look...
don't know about...
Whoop,
either way.
I mean, it does...
the waters... I mean, that's 300 damage in the early game. That's still a lot of damage, especially as someone who doesn't have the protections for it right now. As Glock is going to find a kill. 2 kills in that mid lane. Fuego Maego with a beautiful Dharmic Pillars, able to help find a couple of kills and 10 stacks for himself on this Gauntlet of Thebes. And I hate to say it, but I would have much preferred to see this Horus going that Cannoneer's curious and trying to get his team ahead using an item like that to generate a gold loop for his team.
I just wanted to point out real quick there that the Chalk already has over 1,300 health. So why was it not doing a lot of damage? Yeah, it does 300, but he still has protections. Granted, not a ton, but he does have just base
He
protections.
should have.
And
Yeah, I was about to say he should have 35, if I recall.
yeah, so it's not like he's not sitting there with, nothing, but it's only 300 damage on a 1300 damage solo laner, so... Uh-oh,
MZ's
MC's...
going to be able to find a lot of damage into MZ, however, as MZ has to run back to the tower. Glock 17 binary is in the area. MZ steps up, but that might be his death. Lineman Nelson looking for the engage. Not going to find it, but MZ steps back up. Damage is put through Dragoon, excuse me. Glock 17 binary going to find the kill as Lineman Nelson going to go ahead and retreat. Make sure he doesn't get picked off by any kind of rotation out of the Eternal Vanguard as Fuego. Got to be very careful here. Garment Pillar is going to be dropped, but Izu's going to find the kill anyway. The Great End going to find the kill onto the Pachyderm as we continue moving right along here. And the crew, as far as early game, seems to have picked up right where they left off.
Yeah, but again, it was a tenuous lead back then. It's even more tenuous now because when you're looking at it, who are the big power players? I mean, yes, Neath, excellent in the mid game, very, very good, but kind of becomes more of an alt bot later on. Soul, still very effective in the later game, but if you really want the scary thing, all you have to do is look at Eternal Vanguard in that duo lane. Already at level 9 is a Freya. Once Freya gets past her initial sort of issues, gets 2-3 items online, that is going to be a very, very dangerous, very, very deadly Freya very quickly.
Whose Code puts a lot of damage down onto Deadlie, and the ultimate expended by the jungler and by Roan Nemesis. Not going to be able to find a kill. Deadlie very quick, very good on the beads plus the Disapparate combo. Able to get out of dodge and keep themselves alive. We have a 3v2 currently being looked at here in the mid lane. Crew looking to hover around this beacon. Keep in mind, beacon comes up in another 3.5 minutes. We do have Gold Fury available. We do have a Bull Demon King available if these two teams decide to go for it. Lineman Nelson going to go ahead and pick up the Totem of Ku here. Should be pretty free. It doesn't look like MZ wants to go up there. Not enough mana to really fight at the moment. And one of the things I want to point out is both of these mages have opted for very similar builds outside of a very key difference. Excuse me. This Freya going Boomba's Dagger to start, where the Soul starts with Gilded Arrow. So even though Soul is behind in XP, might be able to make that up in the gold generation department instead. And indeed is ahead by about a half an item currently. Izu's gonna find Fuego My Ego, and that's another kill in mid. And Fuego, seemingly going the same way he did last game, just continues to get picked off here. And not something you want to see, but something he definitely should be able to hit.
Yeah, and it is something that we did see in game number 1, where it wasn't necessarily a mark of Fuego's play, but there were some problems where he was stepping up. It wasn't an effective initiation. It was more he was just kind of being a tank there, being a body there, and it just kind of it didn't progress his team's capabilities. And yeah, we see that again. He steps up, but he's playing a squishier god now. So how's that going to work? We went from a Bacchus to a Ganesh. You know, is it going to continue to be a problem?
In the solo lane, the Sobek being chased down, being hunted down, should be a kill here, and Glock 17 Binary gonna find the kill in solo yet again. What a play by this jungler. 6-0-0 is the Crew's jungler really dictating the pace of this game. Something as I already pointed out, I would much rather have seen Ku's Code do on this Erlong Shen, but currently has been unable to do it. Deadlight playing incredibly safe, able to stay out of danger and avoid the threat of the taunt from Kuzcode.
Well, and that's kind of the issue with... I'm not going to say it's the issue of Erlang Shen. I think part of the problem is Kuzcode was waiting over here on this duo side to relieve pressure to make sure that the Freya gets ahead and to maintain that lead. But it means that he's been sacrificing his own farm to do so. He was sitting over in that left-hand jungle for quite a long time. So he fell behind even further than he was. Now he's 2 levels down. It's 6-0 in favor of in favor of Glock here on the Susano, as looks like Fuego's going to start up the Bull Demon King here. And again, you got to ask the questions of effectiveness, as Fuego is going to get hit, but Zeus is going to get hurt, and that's going to be 2 ultimates popped and 1 Ixchel dropped.
1 dead mid laner for the Vanguard, but Fuego going to be pulled right back into the fire, as now he might get burnt to a crisp. Indeed, Ems is going to find a kill onto Fuego. Glock has to escape, and now it is the mid laner of the Eternal Vanguard for the support of the crew, as now the Sobek has to get away from the tower. Too much damage from tower shots. Sliding to Nelson in the middle of 2. Trying to run away. It might have been better to turn onto Kuzcode there, in my opinion.
But again, Lineman's got to maintain his own self-awareness. If he doesn't have anybody around him and he starts taking a fight, all it takes is for Shoto to stun him, knock him up, and that means, you know, Kuzcode can pop in with the damage. So, again, he's making himself effective, not too crazy, but we are seeing the Ickval now and the 1000-fold Blade coming out for Kuzcode on this Erlang Shen, 2 of the new items, or I should say returning items, back to Smite in this latest patch.
Old items for some of us, new items for others. Either way, a very scary set of items to put together there in the jungle. Ickval, well known for saying, hey, if I have it and you don't, you can't box me. And the 1000-fold Blade, one of the most terrifying items to see as a rush out of the jungle if you're a mid or a carry, because that very quickly adds up to true damage, and Erlang Shen, one of the best applicators of true damage in all of Smite, percent max health damage on every basic attack thanks to his passive, the Howling Dawn.
Yeah, I'm also interested, though, in the shifter shields coming out here. Again, full tank coming out of the Horus right now with Gauntlet of Thebes and the Pridwin, but shifter shield now coming out from Ego. Is Lineman going to go down to Kuzcode over here in the solo lane? MZ going to force the beads on a binary.
MZ being returned upon. MZ taking a lot of damage. Glock 17 binary with some good output as well, but not going to really find anything here, as the Reforged Hammer was good out of the knee. The ult going to be expended in that fight as well, but Fuego may have bit off more than he can chew. That's a lot of damage. That's a lot of healing. Izu's putting it down. Fuego in a lot of pain, but able to get out. And the teleport's going to come through. Lineman Nelson going to rejoin the fight. Blink in. And now the root is going to be enough. Should be able to get away here. Disengage call coming through from the Eternal Vanguard. Indeed, Eternal Vanguard able to get away. Lineman Nelson going to clear that wave, but no more fight over here in this right side of the map, as we see that things have settled down a little bit here. And one of the things that I do want to point out, Cafe Cat Art has been really good and really decisive on those lethals. And I do love the decisiveness of this lead. He just, hey, I'm ulting, go. Sometimes it's the right call.
Well, and not only that, but if your team knows that you're going to say you're going to ult and it's going to come through instantly, that means that they can time their initiation as well. The first C hits, they're stunned, they're rooted. Okay, now we're going to go in with everything we've got, and you get the pick that way. So being decisive on Aneath especially is very, very helpful for the team.
Absolutely. Eternal Vanguard looking toward the beacon, looking toward the Gold Fury, going to pick up the Oracles here. And what has yet again been a back and forth affair, in and out. And the crew, however, they put all their eggs in one basket. 7-0-0 with every single one of their kills is Block 17 Binary. So I feel like he really needs to be doing a little bit more lifting here, as the Horus is going to ult. That's going to be a dropship in a mid lane. They're looking for Cafe Cat art. Shoto with a beautiful dropship into the tower. Cafe Cat unable to get away, trying to run. Aegis is used. Aegis down, and Kuzco finds the kill. Shoto will find another knockup. Lyman Nelson trying to walk away, but making space is Kuzco. Lyman Nelson going to take a lot of damage here. Root is good. Eternal Vanguard, they got their pick. They're getting out of dodge.
Yeah, that was an excellent demonstration of how to use the Horus effectively, as Zeus getting a little testy there, as Binary's going to drop his ultimate. He will claim Zeus at the end of it. Binary very low, but he will get out with his life. Again, that was just a rough one, because Fuego and Lineman were both there tanking the tower to allow Binary to get that ultimate off to kill Ixchel in the mid lane. But man, that one just a rough one off the bat.
A lot of damage here. MZ trying to look for a kill. Not indeed will be able to find it, but can he get out of the tower in time? Just enough protections and health thanks to Shoko on this Horus, proving that he does have what it takes to play an intricate pick like that.
Yeah, that one was a very well played. MZ did very, very well there on that one. But we'll see what happens here as Eternal Vanguard, again, keeping things close. It's about, as I said, keep things close. It's basically even across the board. XP, about 400, gold difference, back and forth right now. But there you go. There's some damage. Tower down in left. Very, very low in mid lane. Gold Fury will not be up for another 2 minutes, though. As we see across the board, this one is sort of that it can go either way. So we'll see what happens.
This one has been going either way, and you brought up the gold and XP differentials, which are absolutely negligible right now. There is not any real massive difference on either side at the moment. When you talk about gold, when you talk about XP, as Cafe Cat is going to find Ezeus and kill him off, and this Neath has been very effective out of this mid lane. I've really enjoyed seeing what Cafe Cat has been able to do with this pick. Dark Pillars going to get dropped. Fuego with a lot of damage out of the pillars, but able to walk away are both Kuzco and Shoto at the moment. And now, Shoto sitting here trying to defend this tower, but it will immediately fall. Deadlight taking absolute advantage of the fact that magical damage dealers do a lot more damage to towers per auto.
Yeah, not only that, but I mean, they got the pick, they used that. Okay, we know that we got a relatively low tower in mid lane, let's take it out. They grouped as 3, they pushed it up, they got the tower, and they moved on to the next thing. So, again, we're seeing the decisiveness out of the crew that we didn't quite see in game number 1. They were kind of going back and forth. This time, they are all together on this.
Binary, a lot of damage being pumped into him. Lineman Nelson going to walk on through, try and cover for Binary so he can get away. Able to successfully do that. Eternal Vanguard, however, going to pick up the Oracles, and hey, we saw something for a moment that, oh, never mind, Lineman Nelson stunned or knocked off, whooped, has to walk away, has to expend ultimate to get them off him too. But going back from, we saw something really interesting you don't see a whole lot. The crew, for just a moment, had exactly 50,000 gold. Eternal Vanguard going to get the Primal Fury here. Fuego unable to steal that one away. Not quite properly placed. Fuego just trying to get away. Able to use the dash. Able to run to the tower. The tower is not going to save you now. Not when it's that low. And not with MZ and Izu closing behind. Deadlight with the Aegis looking to get out of dodge there. Fuego Maego gets pulled out of tower by MZ. And some really good damage pumped into Deadlie, so they do have to leave. Cusco and company looking at that tier 2 tower in mid now. Cafe Cat Art just trying to defend the speed buff, trying to make sure they get their gold, their XP. As Glock 17 going to run out and make sure that they actually back off and can't go after the tower. But what a game this is turning out to be, and what a set between these two teams. If you looking just at game 1 and here at game 2, assuming Eternal Vanguard are able to pull through, if someone told me that this was a 2-0 and I just watched the games but didn't get to see the results, I would not believe them.
Yeah, I know. Things have been on a knife's edge for most of these games. I mean, the first game was just over 30 minutes. This one, probably looking at maybe a little even longer than that. Again, we'll see how aggressive these teams really want to get. We are seeing MZ step up here over in solo alone, which can be a problem when Binary's right there. But again, we're trying to see where are the damage dealers, how are they going to get the objectives, and where are they going to utilize their advantages appropriately. XP isn't really going to matter much as people are starting to hit 20. I will say, though, I am probably more afraid of a Freya at level 20 than a Soul at level 20. But either way, we'll see how it works.
Soul passive. Yeah, the Soul passive is really hard too, though. And in the jungle here, we have a fight. Fuego Maego just trying to get out of it. And that's the second time now that Shoto has failed to interrupt the Ganesh dash by just standing in front of him.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to be, as Lineman decided he was going to teleport to mid lane here, as they will have a bit of a dance in the mid lane. Stygian Beacon is up. Cafe Cat over there dropping some wards, but it looks like they're going to be more than happy to get rid of it, as Lineman will come in, and here comes the fight already.
Lineman Nelson with a big silence, good Dharmic Pillars placement as well. Izus in trouble. Izus will fall. Block 17 is divine. 9-0-1 is the Susano, but getting turned on very quickly. Dashes away, but Cusco with the shutdown on Block 17. And Cusco's going to turn the fight. Cusco looking and will find Deadlight. Cusco trying to keep alive in this fight, but Lineman Nelson looked like he's going to shut the Kuzman down, as Erlong is going to make the kill anyway. Beautiful pluck. Great charge prey out of the Sobek. And Lineman Nelson will fall. Cusco will survive, and the crew will not.
What a fight. That was just nuts. 4 for 1. Izus goes down early. But, I mean, that was crazy. Fuego goes down early. Glock that was the danger of a Freya. Glock ran at that Freya and took 4 shots to the face and didn't have a health bar. So, late game Freya is dangerous to begin with. Late game Freya with 4 items on her now hurts a lot.
So, here's a question. Can you consider someone late game if they're level 20 but only have 1 item?
I would consider Freya late game at level 20. Not a full build yet. 25 minutes into the game, we're looking at late game here. I mean, almost everybody's at 20. I will say we're not quite at end game yet.
Shoto looking for the drop ship, and where's he gonna go? Looking at the oracles, I do believe, as they go ahead and go to that Gold Fury. Beautiful call by this Horus, but Freya on her own, being chased down by Lineman Nelson, who's gonna force her to back away. But the crew completely missed the Oni Fury going down, and now Soul in the middle of 3 blue health bars here might be the next to fall. MZ looking for that charge prey, not going to be able to find it, as Deadlight is able to avoid getting plucked away thanks to the Disapparate. But MZ, you're supposed to be a tank. You're supposed to be a tank, MZ. What happened? Who hurt you? MZ pulls Lineman Nelson back. The root, the whoop, the damage. Oh my, Lineman Nelson barely able to get away. The Darwin Killer is going to be used to separate this fight, but it won't matter. Eternal Vanguard, they want in, and they're getting in. As Eternal Vanguard, however, their health bars are now dropping too fast. That bird, believe it or not, does some pretty good damage.
Yeah, and that was an excellent defense there by the crew. Didn't have much there, but again, they have the sustain now. Nemesis is back up. Let's see if MC can get a pluck here. I think if MC gets a pluck and they focus the damage down, that might turn things. Well, speaking of turning things, Glock might be in a bit of trouble here. Ooh!
Glock was, Glock, I don't know why he wanted to come in from behind them like that in the middle of this tower. Shoto looking for the dropship and going to find a spot over by that tier 2 tower right. And is going to advance his team through to that tower. Deadline maybe a little bit too far up here, but instead they're going to back off and considering what their Fire Giant buff should be around for another 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, well, they got all the tier 2s, so they've collected some gold. They're starting to get last items now online. Everybody's got their starter upgraded, so we're going to see how this plays out here as now they're starting to look at, okay, how do we end this game? How do we finish things off here? They do have another minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes left on their buff, but now comes the real question. Where do they think they have the advantage? How do you push the bird? So...
Oh, I thought you were going to ask which version of the crew or which version of Eternal Vanguard do we see, but that works too.
Oh, that's another question. That's another good one.
Either way, Eternal Vanguard really looking to send this one home. 7.5k gold difference here. Deadlight caught out yet again. Disapparate won't be enough to save you this time, buddy. Half the health bar gone. And Deadlight trying to run away, but not going to be able to find any safety here soon. And without Disapparate, there she goes. Soul will fall. MZ should fall shortly thereafter, caught in the box. But beautiful, beautiful combination of both items and abilities going to be more than enough to save MZ from certain doom between the heroes from Forest and the great end of Izus. Much to be said there. Fuego going to fall as well. And it is a 5v3 under this bird. Cafe at half, Lineman at 3/4. Binary had to go back to base. And now the crew are preparing for a last-ditch effort to defend this Titan. Eternal Vanguard, they're going to go ahead, try and take this middle bird, make it even harder to defend. And they should be able to get it here. They definitely have the push to do so. They have the two-man advantage here. A 5-on-3 power play for those of you who watch hockey. As Fuego Maego and Deadlight come back up. And the Fire Giant buff just wore off, so Fire Giant back up in 1 minute. And Freya just able to solo this because Freya doing Freya things.
Yeah, Freya used the Pyromancer to heal. Just saying.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Freya just doing Freya things. What do you mean?
Yep, but
nothing out of place here.
About 35-40 seconds left to go before the Fire Giant coming up here. As we just saw a 500 gold pot used on the Freya here. 4-0-3. This one, again, player damage isn't quite there, only 12k, but if Nemesis can get into these fights, honestly, I don't even care about the player damage so much as the objective damage. Look at how he is absolutely shredding this Fire Giant. It was there, it's gone. Oh, and by the way, that was just before the 30-minute mark. That's a regular Fire Giant, not an EFG.
And that's on Eternal Vanguard for allowing that to happen and just saying, let's burn it as fast as we can, instead of, hey, let's hold it for, another 2 or 3 seconds and let that
uncontested.
There was no one there to stop them. They should have let that become an EFG, but instead, the crew can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief here. I know that's still obviously a Fire Giant around the belt of each member of Eternal Vanguard. 5 strong with fire, not something you want to see coming your way. But, look at this. They have a lot of good defensive capability here. They can slow down Eternal Vanguard significantly. And in fact, Fuego is going to be the target here. MZ going to pull him in, and Fuego deleted in an instant. Able to get the Darwin Pillars down. So able to create some space. Is this elephant before he falls. MZ looking in the back line for Cafe Cat. Able to do a quarter of her health, but Lyman Nelson goes all the way in. Finds a silence. And blocks MC Binary trying to pull one in. Kuz Code finds Lyman Nelson. Ezeus finds Block 17. And this one is over. Cafe Cat will fall, and Deadlife will fall soon after. And the forfeit going to come through as the crew, they go ahead and put it down. Eternal Vanguard going to find a 2-0 decisive victory.
Effectively. And yes, they did. They absolutely did. It was exactly what they wanted to do, exactly what they needed to do. They got to late game. 5-0-7 on the Freya, 1-0-16 on the Horus. I was concerned about Shoto on the Horus. Was he going to, get himself into areas where he shouldn't have? He didn't have to. He played the CC appropriately, he played the team fights appropriately, and he did exactly what he needed to do throughout the game. Even he ended up with pretty much a full build there by the end of it. What a great execution on the side of Eternal Vanguard.
I would like to point out that on top of that, Shoto really put on a clinic of how to play Horus, as Fuego picked a counter match to Horus that Shoto picked Horus into. I want to point out, Shoto picked Horus knowing they had the elephant on board. And Ganesh is one of the biggest counters of Horus in all of Smite. That second ability really disallowing Horus to what you can really consider to be his most important ability in the kit, that being his second ability. And Shoto said, okay, I don't need to use that on you. I just need to knock you up so I can use it on somebody else. Which is exactly what he did, and used it to great effectiveness. I have nothing bad to say about the way Shoto performed on that horse.
And to be honest, I've got nothing bad to say about the other team either. The crew fought tooth and nail throughout that entire game, and it was so close for so long. We even saw that graph was pretty much a flat line until it just started getting out of hand. And to be honest, where it started getting out of hand is where Kuz Code and Nemesis started getting involved into the game, especially Nemesis. When that Freya started working its way around the map, you really started to feel that pressure. Towers were falling, objectives were falling very, very quickly. There's not much you can do when you have Nemesis there on a Freya, constantly beating things down before you can even get there to be effective. And it's not like they were running away either. Both Ezeus and Shoto have over 7k healing on them. So they were sustaining their entire team throughout the entirety of the fight. So the longer fights, which we saw even in game 1, as those fights were extending itself out, yeah, I mean, they were extending, and then Shoto and Ezeus were healing up their team. The Fire Giant buff healing up the team, and they were just going right back in. So kudos to both sides, but well done to Eternal Vanguard for the 2-0 victory.
Without a doubt. And one of the things I do want to bring up is MZ really, really put it out there and made a name for the achievement. Aren't you a tank?
Yeah, right. I think that needs to be we'll see if we can make that a tag or something like that. Aren't you a tank? But you've got to, again, like MZ did, you led the game in player damage. So, aren't you supposed to be a tank? MZ says, yeah, I can do that too.
That being said, I think that's all that there really is to say about this one. Eternal Vanguard, the 2-0 victory, will advance to 3-1 after 4 sets in this season, and the crew will fall to 2-2. This has been Mechanis Cadicius here with Red Sniper performing as both Chair 1 and production in this set. Thank you everybody so much for watching this set between these two teams in the Puddles Division, Season 12 of QSL. We will see you all back here again tomorrow for tomorrow's sets. Have a good night, everybody.